This regular meeting of March 14th, 2022 of the Dubuque Community School District Board of Education is called to order. Our mission is to develop world-class learners and citizens of character in a safe and inclusive learning community. Roll call, please.
Bradley?
Here.
Jones? Parks?
Here.
Prohaska?
Here.
Ryan? Here. Sansi?
Here.
Whitman?
Here. All right, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I move the Board of Education approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the agenda as submitted. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I move that the Board of Education approve the minutes of the regular meeting of February 14th, the special meeting of February 21st, the special meeting of February 22nd, the special meeting of February 24th, the special meeting of February 25th, the special meeting of February 28th, and the strategic plan update session of February 28th, 2002 as submitted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the minutes of the regular meeting of February 14th, the special meeting of February 21st, the special meeting of February 22nd, the special meeting of February 24th, the special meeting of February 25th, the special meeting of February 28th, and the strategic plan session of February 28th, 2022 as submitted. Is there any discussion?
Many meetings.
A lot of meetings, but for a good reason. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Okay, so that moves us to board salutes. And I understand there are a few board salutes today.
I'd be
Ms.
happy to start. Feel honored to read this board salute. It wasn't too long ago when we learned that the Hempstead Girls Cross Country group had won the state championship. Then we learned that head coach Sharon Klein, who started with the district in 1989, thanks to Amy's research on that, 33 years ago, Sharon Klein started working as a coach in our district. And now she has been chosen as the Hempstead Girls Cross Country coach. She's been chosen as the Iowa State Coach of the Year by the U.S. Track and Field and Cross Country Coaches Association. So we certainly salute Sharon for her great work with our young people. This honor also makes Sharon eligible for the National Coach of the Year Award from the association later this year. We wish her well. She's our National Coach of the Year. And it really is a tremendous honor, and we are so pleased to celebrate with Sharon not only this award, but for her longstanding and her outstanding dedication to students in the Dubuque Community School District and to their success. So we both congratulate Sharon and we thank her for her outstanding service. We're grateful for all of that.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
And I have a board salute. My wife and I had the pleasure of attending the musical at Hempstead High School, The Addams Family, very creepy musical. Anyway, the music, the choreography, everything was just superb. And kudos to the leaders and teachers and directors at Hempstead High School. They did a great job. It was very entertaining. I'm glad to see that our arts like this in the school district stay alive. And I'm sure there are other schools that have their musicals coming up here, and I'd be eager to find out when they all are at. I know that we have also, just on another note, in both of our high schools, many of our students involved in the state speech contest. So many of them went to the finals, and so it's a great, to keep our arts alive is wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baraska. Any others? All right, thank you so much.
I move the Board of Education suspend the rules of order and go into open forum.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education suspend the rules of order and go into open forum. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Any persons wishing to address the board can do so at this time. We ask that you state your name, your connection to the district, and limit your comments to 3 minutes using our fancy timer that we have available.
Well, good evening, members of the school board, Superintendent Reingans, and members of the public. My name is Joe Delaney, a senior at Dubuque Senior High School, and it's great to see you all again. I promise this one's not about masks, and I thank you for listening to my remarks. I stand before you today to address a great concern I have, which is the lack of student input in certain board decisions. After Amy Hawkins was selected to be the next superintendent of schools a few weeks ago, I couldn't be more thrilled. I knew that Ms. Hawkins had dedicated much of her career to our district and that she would faithfully execute the duties of her new office. I was especially encouraged during her remarks when she stated that she will remain student-centered in her decision-making, a factor that is especially important to me as an outgoing senior, and I look forward to coming back to Dubuque in the future to see that that promise is held true. However, what concerned me was that there was little to no student input opportunities available in the process of selecting the next superintendent. Granted, it was obvious that the board members took their due diligence and time in ensuring this process would be thorough and detail-oriented. But considering this is the highest administrative position in our district, I assumed that at least some sort of communication would take place between the board and students so that they could get a feel for what qualities the students would like to see in their next superintendent. Unfortunately, this did not seem to occur, and the decision of who would hold the most powerful position in our district wasn't based on much, if any, student opinion. Moving forward, I would like to see the board take greater care and determination in making sure students have their voices heard in administrative decisions that impact them. Certain high-level positions, such as superintendent and principals, ought to have a student panel on the interview team to ensure that direct student interaction and evaluation is a part of the selection process. In addition, surveys should be sent out to our middle and high school students every time that an issue that will severely and directly impact them is on the table. I know this may seem tedious, but in a school district whose mission is to educate students in a learning environment that is safe and inclusive, it is essential that you, the elected officials of our district, make sure their voices are heard. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my remarks tonight. I hope that going forward, you will continue to reflect on the impact your decisions have on students like me, and that you will hear their voices, really digesting what they're saying. I will always advocate for the rights of students, and I look very much forward to seeing the board's future conversations and decisions on this matter. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address the board tonight?
I move that the Board of Education reinstate the rules of order and return to regular session.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education reinstate the rules of order and return to regular session. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I move that the Board of Education approve those items listed in the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve those items listed in the consent agenda. Is there any item that a board member would like to have pulled from the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Okay, so that brings us to the Facilities and Support Services Committee update with Ms. Whitman.
We had our facilities meeting on March 7th. I'll just highlight a few things, and then we have some recommendations. The district projects for senior high school, Phase 2, the projects remain on schedule. No obvious supply chain issues affecting the overall schedule so far. Synergistics, Abby Hammond gave us an update in Abby will be conducting on-site visits in all 19 buildings, and next month she will have a much more in-depth presentation for our group. Proposal for professional services for Sageville Solar Array. Design for the solar array will start next week, and documents being completed and bids received by the end of the year. Construction will start in June of 2023, and with it completed the beginning of the school year 2023-2024. And student fees, there won't be an increase in textbook fees until 2023-2024. And facility rentals, just to note that due to higher utility costs that buildings incur, rental fees will increase. And there hasn't been an increase in those rental fees since 2016 and 2017 school year. And building efficiency consolidations, we will begin a work session on March 29th and start discussion on those topics. And now I have some motions. I move the Board of Education approve the donation of school uniforms at Jefferson Middle School that are no longer of use to the district.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the donation of school uniforms at Jefferson Middle School that are no longer of use to the district. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I move the Board of Education approve the agreement with Straka Johnson Architects, PC, for the Sageville Elementary School solar project in the amount of $18,500.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the agreement with Straka Johnson Architects, PC, for the Sageville Elementary School solar project in the amount of $18,500. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I move the Board of Education approve the student fee schedule for the 2022-2023 school year.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the student fee schedule for the 2022-2023 school year. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
And I move the Board of Education approve the facility rental fee schedule for the 2022-2023 school year.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the facility rental fee schedule for the 2022-2023 school year. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion also carries. Thank you, Ms. Whitman, for
You're
that
welcome.
update. Next is an update about the Educational Programs and Policy Committee.
We were pleased to have a very meaty meeting last week. 4 things came before the group in terms of educational programs, part of our role. The first was a recommendation from Lisa Tabakhorst and Tammy Deere regarding the elementary English language arts curriculum recommendation for grades kindergarten through 5th grade. This is a huge part of the elementary school day. An exhaustive and laudable study has been conducted. And for those who don't know what language arts is, we think of it as reading, but it's also writing, speaking, listening, viewing. And so it's a huge part of the elementary students' day. And the study that was done involved a great number of people, voices, thinking about your comment, Joe, many voices heard in terms of input, the national standards and the state core standards for student learning outcomes were a key part of what material was selected. And we were pleased to receive the recommendation to purchase the materials from Houghton Mifflin Harcourt Company for use next fall. Teachers will be able to receive the materials yet before the end of the school year, which is a really significant thing for our teachers since it's such a large portion of their teaching day to have time to, this summer, be looking at those materials and preparing those lessons. So we were very pleased with that. We also heard from Angie Breitbach and Mark Burns about secondary science curriculum purchases, both at the middle school level and preparing for a purchase for the high school level. We received a recommendation that Discovery Education materials be purchased for middle school science for grades 6th, 7th, and 8th at all 3 middle schools. After a considerable study, again looking at the state and national standards, in the case of science, they're called the NGSS standards. Those are the student learning outcomes, and this material seems to be an excellent match with those standards, and the board was very pleased with that recommendation. Likewise, at high school, we're preparing for a year from now receiving a recommendation about a program called Inspire Science, which is being piloted in the next school year so that our science teachers can get much more of a sense of that, the inner workings of that program. So we thank Angie and Mark for their work in that study as well. Then we heard from Val Lowenberg and Jill Gale, who are 2 of our new teacher mentors. We have a wonderful new teacher mentoring program. It is through the program itself is created by the New Teacher Center, and we received a recommendation to go forward with that for next year as well. This program brings our new teachers new to teaching, into the work of being a teacher, and we assign a mentor to each of those new teachers for not 1 but 2 years, so that as they enter the teaching profession and meet the rigors of that, they have the guidance and help of an experienced veteran, successful teacher with them. So we appreciate that program very much. Then, as Ms. Whitman has already talked about, we talked about student fees, and I would just add to what she has said that there were very few increases brought forward, and we're pleased about that. And certainly welcome and thank Mr. Kelleher and his staff for the work in preparing those student fees for next year. So those were the 4 things on the educational programs part of our work. Then we moved to the policy portion. You know that every 5 years the board is responsible for reviewing each and every board policy for reconsideration, potential for revision, modification. So this time we reviewed 4 policies which were already approved in the consent agenda. Then lastly, Superintendent Reingans brought the board his recommendation that we put a pause on the COVID dashboard for the district. And how exciting is it to know that his recommendation is based on the fact that our numbers have dropped to such a low point that it seems the right thing to do to not spend more staff time preparing every day those numbers when it's such a low number. If it's needed again, and we certainly hope that it is not, that system is there and in place for us to pick up and go with again. So that was the work of the Educational Programs and Policy Committee.
Thank you, Ms. Bradley. So that brings us to new business. Looks like there's a couple of items.
I move that the Board of Education approve the matching state teacher incentive for teachers, counselors, and nurses not included in the state incentive.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the matching state teacher incentive for teachers, counselors, and nurses not included in the state incentive. Some discussion on this,
I think
Amy?
Amy'd like to clarify before you have discussion.
Sure. Good evening.
Hi.
As you might know, Governor Reynolds had put out a proposal that she was going to give an incentive for teachers to return for $1,000. The legislators went ahead and passed that. And so this Wednesday, otherwise we would have brought this to committee, this Wednesday we learned of there's some criteria of how people qualify for the $1,000. So we have 996 staff members that are in our teacher, nurses, counselor, bargaining unit. And of those 996, 148 of our staff members did not meet the criteria that the state released to us as late as Wednesday afternoon, I think, Kevin. So as we looked into that, we really wanted to be able to honor the people that are all in the same bargaining unit. And so that we're asking that you use ESSER funds to give them the $1,000 incentive, the same as the people that did qualify by the state criteria.
And I would add to that, that within the state criteria, it did not include nurses. And it's hard to imagine a group who have put more, time, effort, and energy into COVID than our school nurses, and they're part of that, and as well as our guidance counselors. And same with our guidance counselors, putting a lot of additional time, work, effort into making sure that our students, had the things that they needed from a guidance counselor position. So there are a few other positions in there as well. But so the state didn't meet the state definition, but they certainly meet our definition of a teacher. They're in the same bargaining unit. So Amy brought forward the idea of matching those funds, and 100% agree with that.
Yeah, it's almost unbelievable that they were not included in the groups, because they were the ones that directly are with students, counseling the students, taking care of their health needs, et cetera. And it's amazing.
We'd like to think it was an oversight, but we don't really
Oversight,
know.
yeah.
So regardless,
Exactly.
we'd like to.
Is there any consideration at the state level to fill that gap by changing that?
There's a lot of communications about that, so with that, if they do that, that's great for us, but my guess is if that happens, it'll be down the road a month or more, and so for us to honor this now and hope, and we'll certainly be a voice to say that they should, because they have done the same somewhat work, but unknown.
When would these be effective then? Would they be?
They would receive that at the end of,
In their March
in their March
paycheck.
paycheck.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. With the state criteria, they had to be paid by, I believe it was April 5th.
Okay.
And so there was a short window to when we could administer to get the reimbursement for the people that met the criteria.
Well, it's always a good reminder, we can't control what goes on at the state level, but locally, we're always trying to figure out what can we do to best support our teachers. And so it's a retention, it's a morale thing, and so
Yep.
kudos to all of you who brought this forward to us.
Absolutely.
Good
Thank you.
going.
And there are many other people who worked hard too, and we
Absolutely.
get that. They weren't part of the state program, and so we've already offered them the $500. It would be impossible for us to include them in this program as well, but at least those in the same unit, bargaining unit, seem to make sense.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I move the Board of Education take no further disciplinary action related to student number 802485, student number 811151, and student number 815712 at this time.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education take no further disciplinary action related to student number 802485, number 811151, and number 815712 at this time. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Is there any board member or administrative issues not on the agenda tonight?
I don't believe administratively.
All right.
I have none.
Everyone will go out and enjoy the nice weather.
Yeah, enjoy the spring day. All right, well, seeing none, then we are adjourned.